Everybody, McGruller 31 back here for FSi DFS. We are going to be breaking down the 9-game slate with a lot of rain issues, so could end up being a 7 or 6-game slate for Monday 4/18. So let's just blow through these games quick and talk about the weather, pitching, and then we'll get you some lineup starters and go on. So Arizona and Nationals looks like a 90 to 100% chance of rain for that one. Bumgarner versus Gray. The game does play. I don't mind playing Gray. Don't really like any of the bats. Wind's blowing in. It's going to be in the 40s and wet. So kind of moving on from that. So Gray potentially could be a pitcher, but I think there's better options on the slate. The next one is going to be the New York Mets and the San Francisco Giants. It looks like it's going to start out with light rain, but then get really heavy around an hour into the game. So I don't know about that. I really do like Alex Cobb here. He started off this season really well. Mets have a good lineup, but I think that, Cobb could do well against them. So I think he's my favorite medium rain pitcher here, especially if the storm gets pushed off and the rain's not going to be heavier till later. If they can get it enough in to make it an official game and you can go 5 innings, I think that's fine, but I think it's still risky with the wind blowing in and again being about 40 some degrees here. I'm really not interested in any of the bats on either side here. Next up, we have Wrigley Field. We have Chicago Cubs and Tampa Bay. Looks like some potential light rain here, but it looks like it's going to be heavier earlier in the day and only being the 20% during game time. So maybe a delay, but it looks like it's going to be 39 degrees and falling. So, I might even see some snow here with the precipitation. The wind could potentially be blowing in or blowing out. Right now, it looks like blowing out at 19 miles per hour. So that makes the pitchers a little bit iffy, although with the cold hitting environment, I don't know if that's going to happen. So I think McClanahan at 8-1 against this Cubs lineup is a good option, especially if the wind is changes and is blowing in. So keep an eye on that. Hendricks I like as a cheap pitcher, and we have Coors Field on the slate, so you're going to need a cheap pitcher to put with your SP1 if you want to try to stack Philly there, because they're pretty expensive bat wise. So Hendricks I don't think is out of the question if the game's going to play and it's going to be a bad hitting environment. He's not a strikeout pitcher. He's more of a ground ball pitcher. And so even if the wind's blowing out, I guess he could potentially be an option as long as it's not going to be rained out. And Tampa Bay has had some Ks in their lineup recently this year, so don't really mind that. Then we have Milwaukee and Pittsburgh. It's played in a dome. Milwaukee will close the roof, so even if it is raining or cold there, it doesn't really matter. They should be fine. Eric Lauer, I think, is a little bit expensive for how late he's probably going to go in the game. Milwaukee is a good bullpen. Not much K upside there with him as a pitcher. Pittsburgh lineup hasn't been horrible. There have been much worse lineups in MLB so far this year. So Zach Thomas on the other side, I'm fading, not really interested in. Both sides of the ball here. I'm not really, there's much better hitting environments in this slate to look at. So if you're looking for maybe a cheap stack to supplement, I think you could take Milwaukee or Pittsburgh, especially in GPPs if you're doing a 20 max. I think, they're in play here, but they're nothing that I'm really looking at as primaries. Houston and LA, it's going to be a good hitting environment there for them, played in a dome. Lorenzen, he's a former outfielder and a relief pitcher. I think it was for the Mets, but the Angels really think that he's a starter. I think that he's a good GPP play in the medium range. A 7-1's not bad, so he's almost at the cheap spot. Houston this year, they lost Correa, they lost a couple other pieces out of that lineup. They got some young guys here, and actually they're only 25th in scoring runs. They're top 10 in home runs, but barely. They don't really strike out much. So I don't know. Lorenzo could be a wild card here. He could be a very, very sneaky play because Houston really hasn't super impressed me a ton. I think some of the guys in the lineup, but I think there might be a case that Lorenzo is a dark horse here to be a cheap SP2. Garcia on the other side doesn't go long enough. Not really interested in him as a pitcher against this Angels lineup that's pretty good. Trout got hit by a pitch. I don't know if he's going to be in it, but still, even if he's not, I'm not I don't think I really want to pay 9-6 on this slate for Garcia when I've got some better options to go for. Colorado, not touching any of the pitchers there. Nola's a really good pitcher, but still, I don't want to face him in Colorado. Looks like a crosswind, so the wind's not blowing out, but 67 degrees, so it's not like freezing there. It's not 90 either. So I mean, Nola would be very, very sneaky, but why pay up for a pitcher when you definitely have some bats in good situation? You have some really reasonably priced mid-range pitchers here. Chad Krul, not interested at all. I think Philly's going to be a top stack on the slate. I think, they got the highest run total, and I think that they'll definitely produce pretty well there. Cincinnati and San Diego, you have Lodolo. He's a highly touted prospect from 2017. No, he's not. I'm thinking of the San Diego guy, but Lodolo, he is actually a top prospect. He's moved up the ranks rather quickly. It's his second start. So I think that he's potentially one. This Padres lineup without Tatis has, they did show up a couple days ago and put up 12 runs, but there have been times where they have struggled. So I think if you're looking for a cheap pitcher potentially to take a flyer on, if you want a full stack Philly, then I think he might be the guy. And then Manea on the other side here, I really like him. If he's my top pay up for an SP1 here, I like him over Kershaw at 10-3. I think he's got a better matchup, and I think just being right at almost the 9K mark is the sweet spot for me. Baltimore goes to Oakland. It does look like there's gonna be some rain here. Wind blowing out 10 miles per hour, 44%. So I mean, it's might be play through it and just be a wet game for it. Spencer Watkins, worst pitcher on the slate, not interested in him. Frankie Montas have a lot of interest in. I think even though he's blue on the sheet here, I think that he is where I'm probably going to start with my SP1 if I'm trying to get a full Philly stack in, and then put Lodolo or Hendricks with him. And I love the A's here as a very cheap supplemental stack to play with, like Phillies or any other high price stack that you want to play. Braves and Dodgers, Yanola and Kershaw. Yanola 8-4 has struggled in spring training, and first start up against the Dodger team, no thank you, especially at 8-4. Complete cross off for me. If you want to play in a GPP, if you think he catches lightning in the bottle and the Dodgers have bad fish for dinner or something and aren't feeling well, but I don't think that's going to be a good outcome for you. Clayton Kershaw, I like him. He was cruising his first one, but they pulled him after 7 innings. He was pitching a perfect game. So what's his leash? They want him healthy. They want to make it through the season. They want him for the playoffs. He's not getting any younger, so always risking a 10-3 against the Braves. So I know they've cooled off a little bit, but I just really am not interested in that. But rating wise, he'd probably be the second best pitcher. So like I said, looking at pitchers, Manea, he's the one that sticks out for me most. Kershaw would be second, Lauer in Milwaukee, and then Yanola just in the price range would be a GPP only, but I probably wouldn't even touch him. The weather concern guys, Cobb, I think is the most risky. Montas, I think would be okay, but we'll just have to keep an eye on that. McClanahan, I think the rain's lighter there. The wind would be the issue, but he's good for strikeouts. They're all around the same price range. And then Lorenzen would just be a GPP only against Houston, but I think he could be a dark horse. Cheap guys, Lodolo and Hendricks, and I'm not touching Thomas, Nola, Cool, Watkins, and Garcia from Houston's not on the fade list, but he's there too. So those top stacks, obviously Philly and Colorado. The Dodgers against Yanola at home, they've just been hot. Houston against Lorenzen, so who had a really good start, but like last year's bad. So if he reverts back to that, then we'll have to see. And then Oakland, I absolutely love him against this Spencer Watkins pitcher. Colorado, I think, is a GPP. I just don't think that Nola's a decent pitcher. So I think they're more one-offs than a complete stack. San Diego, I really like potentially against Lodolo, make it a second start. I think, maybe they could put it together tonight. Tampa Bay against Hendricks. If the wind is blowing out, they can hit. He's more of a ground ball pitcher, but I don't think the Cubs bullpen is anything great, so you might get it later on. But again, weather risk there. Angels against Garcia. I think just if the full lineup is there, they're a good play. And then cheap ones, like I said, Milwaukee, Chicago. Cubs are cheap, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. if you want to throw them in, and then leverage, probably the most popular pitchers are going to be Manaea and Kershaw. So if you want to try Baltimore or Atlanta, just in case it's baseball and anything can happen, go with that theory. So let's get you a couple of lineups quick, and we'll get you on your day. So like I said, if you want to full stack Philly, I think you need to start with Montas as your starting pitcher, as long as the weather's okay there. So someone in the medium range. So Cobb, Montas, McClanahan, whichever one the weather situation is going to be the best for. They're all around the same price tag. If you want to go full stack with JT Realmuto, Hoskins, Harper, Schwarber, and Castellanos, it leaves you like you're going to be punting in almost every position. So, and that's even if you tried to play like, I think you'd have to go to like Lodolo or Hendricks in your lineup too there. So I think one of the options too is play the 4 that you're most confident with. So I think the catcher pitch position, you can go Murphy. You can move down a little bit to like the mid-range, or play Realmuto, go down a little bit and play Murphy, or just punt the position. Hoskins, I think, is a good choice at first base. Here's where the A's really fall in line nice, because Kemp and Lowry are about the same price. Neus, they're all in like the just below 4K, 3K range. I've been punting shortstop all year. Arcia, if he's in for the Braves, he's at 2K, or even if you pay down at one of the other positions and don't go like a full Philly stack, or if you're taking, you could take maybe DJ Gregorius there, or if you take another cheap Philly guy and opens up some salary, and Drewis would fit in with the A stack. Harper, I think I want him just with the splits matchup. Schwarber also has it, but Casty, I think, has been a hotter hitter this year. So between one of those two, and then look who's in the Philly lineup towards the bottom. Could you get a wraparound? Is there another outfielder that's listed? Because they usually, I think, Schwarber DHs, so they usually have to play another guy in the outfield. So take the cheap Philly guy. Is there a Colorado guy like Joe that will fit in your lineup, or take a punt? So I think that's where most people are going to go and cash today. So like I said, with Lodolo making his second start, I take Manaea as my first pitcher. Cobb or Montas, again, whichever weather situation is good there. And then I want some San Diego. So Nola, Voit, Cronenworth would be the flex guy. And if you want all 5, I think he'd be the 5th guy in. So if you want to eliminate him, I completely understand. Machado and Grissom, it leaves you 4, 6, 3, 3 for player. If you go down lower than Cronenworth or take him out, he'll give you a little bit more. You can put Houston in here. You can put the Dodgers in here. You can punt shortstop with like Garcia or somebody, and then you could play 2 of the Philly outfielders. You could take like Harper and Joe. Maybe even pay up for like Turner at shortstop and just take some one-offs in these positions. So I think that's like the second place I'd go. Maybe more of a GPP line, but maybe like an alternate cash line in case Coors Field doesn't go out. Sometimes we've seen the first day when people go out there, it doesn't hit as well. So jet lag, I don't know what it is. Maybe, you know, it's cooler than it's supposed to. The wind changes and it's blowing in. Baseball, anything can happen. So I think it's pretty much the breakdown for today. Appreciate you watching. So if you want more information about FSi DFS, check out the description of our video. It has a link to our Discord, link to our site. You know, we've seen new growth, people coming in, watching these videos. It's been great to meet these people. Love your comments below. Love interacting with you. You can reach out to me on Twitter at MegaRotor31. Just send me a message. I'll you know, approve you, and we can talk there if you have questions on stuff. Like, we can't approve full lineups for you because DK kind of frowns on that. But if you have questions on like some players or situation changing or stuff like that, that's what we're here to help for. So again, appreciate you watching. So good luck in your contest today. Just make sure you check on the weather, and I think we'll have some success tonight. See you next time.